When studying how to solve quadratic equations in ninth grade, students first learn how to solve quadratic equations using the concept of square roots. Please check to see if you can do this method called completing the square. First, let's review how to solve using the idea of square roots. This expression means, if you square the expression x plus 7, you get 5. To make it easier to see, if we replace x plus 7 with the letter a, we can see that a squared equals 5, so a is the square root of 5, which is plus or minus square root 5. But the true identity of a is actually x plus 7, so x plus 7 is plus or minus square root 5. Since it is an equation, we want it to be in the form x equals, so we reverse the sign of 7 and move it to the right-hand side. Now you can easily solve the problem without using the solution formula. Let's solve other questions using this idea of square roots. Questions like 1 should be solvable in the same way as now if you can change the left side to the square of the parentheses. In order to form the square of the parentheses, we will use the factorization formula. If we can factor it into the square of the parentheses, then twice the number in the parentheses should be the same as the coefficient of x. So half of the number that is being multiplied by x should remain in the parentheses. If you can factorize this question, 7, half of 14, should appear in the parentheses. But in the first place, you can't factor it unless you have the square of the number in the parentheses. There is no such squared number in the formula in the question now. In that case, let's add 49, which is 7 squared. You may be wondering, is it okay to do that? However, you only need to calculate both sides equally, so there is no problem if you add 49 to the right side as well. The right-hand side is 54 by just adding. On the left side, the term x is confined within the square of the parentheses, so we can see that x plus 7 is the square root of 54. If question 2 had been squared, 2 times, squared, from the beginning, it would have been solved by factoring it right away, but because of plus 30, it cannot be factorized. So, we decided that 30 is not enough, so we move it to the right-hand side and remove it. If we can factor it into the form of the square of the parentheses, there should be minus 6, half of minus 12, inside the parentheses. To factorize, we need plus 36, which is minus 6 squared, so we add 36 to both sides. The right side will now be 6. X minus 6 is the square root of 6, so it's plus or minus square root 6. It may seem complicated and difficult to understand, but the key is to bring it to the square of the parentheses. You can also think like this. Since we needed 36 and it was 30, we added 6 to both sides to make it 36. Finally, regarding 3, no matter how you think about it, it is faster to use the solution formula. If you still want to solve using the idea of square roots without using a formula, first divide both sides and make the coefficient of the term x squared 1. It's difficult because there are so many fractions, but the calculation method is exactly the same as before. To calculate the fraction on the right-hand side, divide it through. Even if it's a fraction, you're still taking the square root. The denominators can be rationalized, and since they have the same denominator, they can be made into one large fraction. This time I intentionally solved the problem without using a formula, but if you are not specified how to solve the problem, please use the solution formula. By the way, the numerical part of the equation varies depending on the question asked, but no matter what number you get, you will proceed with the calculation using the same procedure. So that it doesn't matter what numbers come in, we'll change the three numbers to letters A, B, and C, and finish the calculation using the same steps as the letters. This will tell you where the numbers from the question equation end up, so you only need to memorize the final answer equation. This is how we created the solution formula.